What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about Lucid. I want to go over some expectations for this upcoming week, what might cause some volatility in the stock price, and go over everything else that you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So starting off with data points, we do have a couple big ones this week that could really push the market to kind of the next level, and Lucid's had some pretty good kind of momentum this last week, going up roughly around 9.05%. So essentially, Lucid will be able to piggyback off of that. But you do have CPI coming out on Tuesday. A lot of Fed speakers throughout the week, so depending on what they kind of talk about, that could cause also some volatility. And I'm sure a hot topic for them will be Trump, what that means for inflation. But generally, a lot of the inflationary data points, the last couple reports, both the Michigan and also just the CPI, has been relatively good. Even PCE recently. PCE is not this week on a side note, but CPI coming out on Tuesday is going to be hopefully reconfirming that inflation is going down. Aside from that, Wednesday you do have PPI and also manufacturing data. Thursday, retail sales, initial jobless claims, so the typical Thursday stuff. And then Friday you have permits, starts, and then the Michigan consumer sentiment. So at the end of the day, a lot of big opportunity to kind of have the market move up. We also do have a lot of big companies now unveiling their earnings. So earnings season is coming back with banks, and so that's going to be a big deal. Also, we have TSM and Netflix. Those are going to be some big ones to really watch for this week that could really impact the tech sector and just overall the broader market. So definitely should be a fun time. Aside from that, and specific to Lucid, as of yesterday as well as today, Electrify Expo in Seattle is in full force. I see a lot of people posting about it on social media. That seems to be the only new thing that is coming up. So it looks like Boston is concluding today. Charlotte is still on up until July the 27th. There was one thing that I didn't see any thing about, and Lucid I don't think even posted about it. Oddly enough, it was a Rivian Twitter page that kind of posted saying that Lucid is welcoming the Bay Area Rivian Club for an exclusive open house event. So this is July the 12th, so yesterday, between 9 and 12, and it says come by, say hi, meet with the team. So this honestly wasn't really advertised at all. So for those of you that kind of did join it and were aware of this, of the 89 people that liked it, I guess not counting me, let me know how it was. Was there any big names there? Did you kind of have any good conversations? I kind of found that weird that no Lucid accounts seem to have really kind of talked about this, just Bay Area Rivian. So yeah, let me know your general thoughts on that. But aside from that though, you might have a couple new analyst ratings. I've noticed it doesn't make sense all that much, but with the market getting more and more hyped up, analysts are starting to pay attention to kind of stocks that have been lagging. And I think Lucid does meet that criteria. So you could potentially start seeing some random ratings, but most likely in Lucid's case though, a lot of ratings will be coming from their Q2 earnings. So something to keep in mind. But aside from all that, it should be a very fun time. When it comes down to Trump talking about tariffs, I think he's already said his piece, already gave deadlines. So I don't anticipate any new crazy updates unless a country such as Brazil or Canada, they got hit quite hard, they retaliate. Then that might kind of restart some crap. But aside from that, I think everything's been essentially priced in my opinion. Aside from all that, going into this upcoming week, 31.84% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 392.65 million shares overall are being shorted. On Friday, shorts alone did increase 4.34 million shares. So shorts have been kind of playing some weird game. They return a excessive amount one day, then they double down on the other. So I think they're playing some weird game to try and kill the momentum, because Lucid's been flirting with that 50-day moving average for the last several days. And I think generally any Lucid investor knows that 50-day moving average is a huge breakout deal. But Going into this upcoming week though, looking at options, you do have the bulls feeling like it will be roughly around that $2.50 to $3 range. The bears, for it to be not really much activity, to be fully fair, between that $2 and $2.50, but this is the open interest. So with it closing at $2.28 on Friday, that means that you have 2,000 in open interest at the $2 strike price. The $2.50 does expire worthless. This upcoming week, you do have a monthly chain, so this is a little bit more of an increase in volume. You have 11,000 at that 2, 69,000 at that $2.50. So best case scenario is Lucid gaining some good momentum and closing above $2.50, having both of those considered in the money. That is where you'll see a pretty good gamma squeeze and continue a nice push higher because of that. So just watch for $2.50 as far as today, but in reality, shorts also know this, so they might be really doubling down at that $2.50. So somewhat just keep that in mind. Aside from that though, with that $2.29, it is trading between this R3 and this R2. So $2.28 is going to be a strong support. So luckily enough, Lucid did close pretty much right above that. So $2.28 followed by $2.22 will be support levels. And then $2.38 followed by $2.63 is going to be the next strong target / resistance points. So all it'll take is a nice push above that $2.38 range and stay there. And then this is where you'll see a nice continued push higher. A lot of that as well has to do with the technicals. So as of right now, no substantial articles really talking about Lucid all that much, at least worthwhile. But aside from all of that though, on the actual chart itself, this is where it's been really pounding at that 50-day moving average for the last week. So normally what actually does happen is you see it hit like a strong resistance point and then it does consolidate, but you do have that ALMA really moving higher. So you are seeing pretty much Lucid getting pinched. And what that does mean is you are going to either have a extreme push higher or a extreme push lower. Given the circumstances and momentum in the market, it is fair to assume that you will be seeing a nice push higher. All it does need to do though is get above that 234, which is that 50-day moving average. 237 is also that 100-day moving average. So a lot of that alongside the fib levels, you kind of have it all very tight resistance points here, but given the circumstances, like I said, in the broader market, yes, Thursday and Friday you had a little bit of crap coming associated to tariffs, but I think going forward that's already priced in. So maybe with some good CPI, that will be that actual dagger that pushes Lucid higher, breaking and destroying this resistance point. So 256 is going to be that 200-day moving average. So at the end of the day, I do feel that this upcoming week, Lucid will be closing above 250. And then depending on if they put out any news or how companies unveiling the earnings, how that does all play out, then you could see it slightly above that 200-day moving average, but I do feel roughly around that 250 is somewhat realistic. So let me know your thoughts on Lucid. Where do you see things going? And potentially, what do you think the next big catalyst is? Do you think that Lucid has something up their sleeve? I think Mark's alluded to big things coming on August the 5th, so their earnings. There is clearly something that he wants to disclose. But nonetheless, from now until August the 5th, do you think that there's going to be anything coming out? And as far as Trump talking about tariffs, do you think he's done, or do you think he has more kind of crap to start? What's your general thoughts on the broader market as well? One final thing, pop over to my Patreon. I do give buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, many of which have been absolutely on point. Definitely worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.